الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Hey, Assalamualaikum everybody. I'm Hadra from the Festive Bazaar. I'm here to do some fun Ramadan and Eid crafts with you guys today. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first things first, what are the crafts we're going to do? We're going to be doing some fun pop-up cards that you can do for Ramadan and Eid. So you just have a little pop-up design that comes out right there, and then we're also going to be doing a lantern for Ramadan that you can decorate and print out. So for this lantern, you can download the template and print it out on the Eid United website, and you have two choices, one with like a little bit of a fancier window and the other one with a square window. So today we'll do the one with the fancy window, but you can print out whichever one you want and work with that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be starting with is the pop-up card. So for the pop-up card, some of the things you need in order to make this card is some construction paper or cardstock. I'm using cardstock. So we have a scrap piece of paper and then two pieces that are slightly bigger and smaller than the other, right? So my inside piece is going to be a little bit smaller than my outside piece. So you can use whatever colors you want. I'm using these two shades of purple. You can use the same color. You can use whatever colors that you really want to use. And then I have my scrap piece right here. So you need some construction paper, cardstock. You're going to also need some shapes for your pop-up decoration. So I have a crescent and a star and a lantern, and you can also download these on the Eid United website, or you can draw your own or cut out your own shapes, whatever you want, but these ones are also available on the website, so you can download and cut out and use these to trace out your shapes. Okay, so you need your shapes, you need your paper, and you need a ruler. You also need some scissors, and you're going to need a glue stick. And if you have any extra fun stickers, you can use those so you can decorate your card, and also any markers or color pencils or crayons, whatever you have at home to help you decorate. All right, so let's get started. So we have, like I mentioned, our two pieces of cardstock. I've already cut these down to size. It should make about a 5x7 card, but you can use whatever shape or size you want. All right, I have this little guy here. It's a lot smaller, so whatever size card you want to make, just as long as you have two pieces of cardstock, one a little bit bigger and smaller than the other one. Okay. So I'm going to be using these two pieces, and so I'm going to put my bigger sheet aside right now. I don't need that. Right now I'm going to focus on my small sheet. And one thing to remember is also when you're making your card, you can make your card so it opens sideways, or you can make your card so it opens to the top. So however you want to make it. So when you're doing that, you just need to remember that's the direction of how you're going to glue your shape for your pop-up. So you need to just remember that. So for this one, we'll go ahead and make it a side open card, right? So I'm going to fold it. Each one is going to be done exactly the same way. It's just a matter of which way you glue your shape. So we're going to fold our card. Okay, fold it down right the middle so the edges, right down the middle so the edges match. Okay. And you have your card ready to go. Then you want to take your shape. So let's go ahead and do a star, the star shape. Okay, so I'm going to take my scrap piece, and then I'm going to take my piece of tracing paper right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and trace out my star. And I always print out my pieces to trace on on cardstock just so it's a little bit more sturdy, but you can use construction paper, you can use regular paper, whatever you have at home. Anything will work. It just, the cardstock gives it a little bit more sturdiness so it won't bend as easily. All right, so I have my star, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out. I like to use these metallic markers so it gives a nice outline, but you can use your own regular markers or color pencils or crayons or pen and pencil, whatever you have to create that outline. And I want to cut along the lines, that kindergarten skill that I still have not mastered exactly. All right, so you have my star shape, so that's ready to go. But how do I get it to pop up? So what you're gonna do is we're going to take our card and put it down, and this is where our ruler comes in handy. So you're gonna wanna measure it out and kind of estimate, it doesn't have to be exact, but you wanna kind of find out where the center of your card is. So this is about 6 inches long right here, and so the middle of this is gonna be about at that 3. And so I don't want just one cut, I need 2 cuts. So I'm gonna take my marker and I'm gonna measure out 1 inch total. So from the 3, I'm gonna go out here, and from the other 3, I'm gonna go out here. So this is about a 1 inch length. But you can make it as wide or as narrow as you want, but 1 inch is about a good length to be able to glue your shape down. Okay, and then you want to also draw out maybe at least 1 inch or 1.5 inches, or 1.25 inches is a good length from the edge, because that's what you're gonna cut out. And you're gonna wanna try to make sure that these are the same length, and I think they are. So it doesn't have to be super exact, but it should be pretty close. Then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm just gonna cut along those lines. All right, so now I have a piece of paper with 2 cuts like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and push this in and flip over my paper so that way now it folds on the opposite side. So this crease is going to go in the opposite direction as this one. And this is what's going to create your pop-up element for your card. So then you're gonna fold this over and then just kind of fold out where those edges are cut all the way to the end. And now you have a piece of paper that has this little cutout section in the middle, and that cutout section is here. And that's what creates the pop-up for your card. All right, so now that you have that, you're gonna take our glue and take our star. We're just gonna see where it's gonna sit on here. All right, and so since it doesn't cover the whole thing, and I don't want to get glue all over here and get my card stuck closed, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on my pop-up element, so that way I only am gluing where the star is on here. So just a little bit of glue there, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue that down with my glue stick. There we go. And now when I open my card, my star is popping out. Isn't that kind of neat? All right. The next thing we want to do is glue this onto the back of our paper, so that way our card doesn't have this big hole in it. I mean, if you want to leave it like that, that's totally fine. No judgment here. But just to kind of give it a complete look, we want to close it off with another solid sheet of paper. So it can be the same color if you want, or a different sheet. I'm using a different sheet just because I like that different color contrast. And again, we want to fold this in half. So get your edges right close together and just press on that crease. And then this is gonna go right inside. And you're gonna take your glue stick and you're gonna want to glue one side at a time. So just go around the edges. Just get all the edges of your card glued down, and just a little bit of a squiggle so it's nice and sticky. And then just push that down right in the middle of that crease, and you're going to do on the same side the other I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, excuse me. Give it a little squiggle right in the corners. That should be nice and sticky for this card. I'm going to push down, press down, All right, so it's a pop-up card. There we go. And you can write Happy Eid, Happy Ramadan, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, whatever you want to make that card for this month. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a Ramadan card just because it's still Ramadan. And on the front, so I'll write Happy Ramadan. And then I'll take some of my star stickers that I have here, just kind of decorate it a little bit on the front. So many options here. All right. And then on the inside, I can add some more star stickers there. Right in the middle, just to give that element of a pop-up fun flair. And then I can finish writing my message. So I'll write this to my friend. So I'm going to write, Dear Samia, hope you have an amazing Ramadan. Your friend, Audra. And there we go. That is your pop-up card. And you can decorate it and add whatever stickers you want, however you want it. And you can use whatever shapes you want. So I used a star. You could have done a lantern. You could have done a crescent. You could have done a circle. You can do a little jagged round shape like that. Anything you want, and you can create that pop-up card. You just have to get that cutout piece and then pop it out and then glue your shape, and then you can write your message, and then there you have it, your pop-up Ramadan card or your Eid card. So that's one craft done. The next craft that we're going to be doing is our lantern craft. So like I mentioned, you can download and print either one of these templates from the Eid United website, and then you can cut it out and be ready to go. So I printed these out on white cardstock, but you could also print them out on color cardstock if you have it. And so because I have a color piece of cardstock here, I'm going to go ahead and use this one. But you can use the white, and then you can decorate it however you want. But you can also decorate this one too, but I'm just going to keep this plain for now just because the color is so nice, and I want to keep it nice and clean like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and cut out the lantern. But remember, you want to cut on the solid lines and leave the dotted lines for folding. So the paper does mention that. So solid lines for cutting, dotted lines for folding. All right, so we have our lantern shapes cut out, but we're not done yet. We still have to cut out these middle sections. This part can be a little bit tricky just because it's the inside and you can't get it right from the edge. So what I like to do is just fold the paper down a little bit, bend it in, and take my scissors and just kind of create a slit on each of those windows. Just so when I get to that cutting part, it's a little bit easier to cut out. All right, so now I have these areas that I can just go in with my scissors and cut out that middle section along that solid line. Now we have our lantern ready to go. We are going to be doing all of our work on the inside where you have the dotted line, so it doesn't show on the outside of the lantern. So the next thing we need to do is glue down our tissue paper. So you can use any color tissue paper you want. I'm going to go ahead and just use white just because that's kind of what will show up a little bit better when you put the light inside. So you can kind of see the lights peeking through a little bit better. than if I used a darker sheet of tissue paper. But you can use whatever color you want. So I'm just going to use white, and I need to cut it down to size. I'm going to just put it right on top of my lantern, like that. And I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm just going to cut a basic rectangle all the way around. So that way I know that this piece will fit. Oops. If it tears a little bit, that's okay, as long as it doesn't tear all the way. All right, so I have my lantern ready to go with the tissue paper, and we're gonna glue that down. So I'm gonna get my glue stick, and I'm gonna put the glue all along the edges, so that way the tissue paper will end up sticking. So I go down in between the windows, get a nice amount of glue there on the edge, and then kind of around the windows, on the edge, all along the bottom of those windows. Just make sure there's enough glue for the tissue paper to stick. All right, and so then I'm going to take my tissue paper, and I'm going to go ahead and get it all on there. Try to get it as straight and not wrinkly as possible. So take your time with it. If it gets a little bit wrinkly on the outside edges, that's fine. Just try not to get the window parts wrinkly. All right, so now that that's glued, you can see now our lantern has some nice windows. Okay, the next thing we need to do is fold it and put it together. I'm going to take my ruler, so that's going to be helpful, and I'm going to actually use my ruler to help fold down these edges to make it easier to put together. So along the bottom, it's a little hard to see now that we've glued our tissue paper, but there was that dotted line, and we want to go ahead and fold along that dotted line these little tabs, because these are the parts that are going to help keep our lantern together. And then this part, the big one, is our bottom part of the lantern. And then we have two more tabs. We have one on the side right here. We're going to fold that along the edge as well. And then we have this one. All right, so now that these tabs are folded, we still have to fold down these three sections to get our lantern shape. So again, I'm going to put my ruler right along that dotted line that you can see through the tissue paper, and I'm going to fold it, get that crease in nice and tight there. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Get a nice solid crease. And then the last one here. So along that dotted line, and get that crease in. So now we have our lantern, and it has all our folds, and we want to fold it together so that way it's going to create that lantern. And so in order to make those shapes stick, we want to use our glue and get those tabs glued on so that they can stick to one another, and then the lantern will stay together. So I'll just put some glue on all of these little tabs right here. And then you're going to want to fold it together. So make sure the edges line up so that way it all lines up all nice and neat for your lantern to stay together. Might need to hold it a little bit. It's a little bit tricky, so I like to just push down on that crease and just press it. And then that glue stays there. And then we have to do the same thing for our bottom. Just push that bottom right across, so like you're closing a box. This one didn't get, there we go. And then just close that right up. And then we have our, press down all the edges. And there you go. You have your nice little lantern, and then we can put in our light inside. So I have a battery-powered candle. So not a real candle. We don't want to use real flames inside this because it's all paper, and paper is flammable. So we don't want to do that. You want to use a light with batteries in it. So I have this little candle right here. I'm going to turn it on, And I'm going to just plop it right inside, and you can kind of see the light shining through. It's a little bit hard to see with all the light here, but if you have the lights down a little bit dim, you'll have that ready to go. All right, so there you have it. We have our 2 Ramadan crafts that we did. We did our lanterns, and we did our Ramadan card, or your Eid card, whatever you want to do. So I hope you guys had fun. Happy crafting, and enjoy the rest of your Ramadan. Assalamualaikum.
صل وسلم دائما أبدا